Welcome to Fantasy 1.0, Episode 7. Today we're talking advanced stats.
Put your seatbelt on and yield for the apocalypse, yeah. It's the apocalypse, yeah.
The advanced stats that may be useful to you in evaluating players, determining luck and whatnot. So I picked out some stats, just sort of a learning experience for me too. But wanted to see, what's out there that helps you determine a player's luck and non-luck, and sort of the lower level ones, the easier ones, the ones you can kind of visualize a little bit better. Things you want to take into consideration. And also when you're listening to podcasts and they start talking about XBIP and BABIP, you know what they're talking about. It might be nice too, right? So, okay, let's start with BABIP. So BABIP is in a nutshell, it's how often batted balls that aren't home runs become hits. So not to get too boring. And again, these notes will be available on my website. Link will be below at the end of the video, also in the notes of this video itself. But it's hits minus home runs divided by at-bats minus strikeouts minus home runs minus sacrifice flies. I think that's it. So what it is it shows you the batter's level of luck when he hits the ball. So when he makes contact, fair contact, what's the chance of that becoming a hit? Now, this is good for evaluating pitchers and hitters in terms of their luck on batted balls in play. Somebody's been unlucky, they're going to have a low a hitter is unlucky, they're going to have a low BABIP. If they're going to have some exceptional luck, they're going to have a higher BABIP. And obviously the inverse is true for a pitcher. So the league average is in the area of 30%. Now, depending on who you are, if you're a guy like D. Gordon, you're likely going to have a higher BABIP floor because of the fact that you're very speedy. you're gonna beat out some ground balls, and have those become hits as well. So again, it's a good way to see if the player's been lucky or not, and see if that pitcher has been lucky or not as well. So BABIP, look that up. Most of this information that I grabbed, by the way, is on Fangraphs.com. That's a great website. There's really good information there on advanced stats and a whole bunch of other things. A link will be listed below as well. Home run to fly ball ratio. So you may have heard me on other episodes talking about this, and that's sort of the percent of fly balls that actually go outside of the park for home runs. So again, another way to determine luck. The first one was sort of luck in terms of your batting average and contact. That's BABIP. This is more on luck on your power. Were you lucky in your home runs? Another episode, a previous episode, I mentioned Elvis Andrus. He's got a career home run to fly ball ratio of 5%, but last year he hit over 11%, and that reflected in his 20 home runs. I see some regression there, but again, I digress. An excellent hitter is going to hit the ball out of the park, or 20% of their fly balls are going to become home runs. Average is around 10%, and poor is around 5%. Obviously, the other way around, the inverse would be true for pitchers. So again, this is a good way of determining power luck for pitchers and for hitters. So it's useful for both, and it sort of can show context on how sustainable a pitcher's or a hitter's power is, or how apt a pitcher is at giving up home runs per 9 innings. All right, your batted ball profile. So this is good for hitters if you're sort of evaluating a hitter on what type of hitter is this guy. This is good. So what it is, it's reflected as a 100%, and it's broken down by ground ball rate, line drive rate, and fly ball rate. Ground balls typically become a single or an out. Line drives are typically hits, sometimes for extra bases, and fly balls typically are outs or home runs. So it's going to give you an idea as to what kind of player you're looking at or evaluating. And this is for players in your team, players you're evaluating for drafts, players on other teams you're looking for in a trade. Move on to some pitcher stats. Again, I was looking at some sort of crazy ones like FIP and XFIP. I was going to talk about those, and I thought, it's going to take me 10 minutes. And after saying it all, I may not completely understand it. So let's start, nice and slow. K to walks. I used to start using this when a pitcher came up, partway through the season, or a guy came back from an injury. You get these sort of sample sizes, and you can determine the health of the not physical health, but the health of the pitcher's performance based on the number of people they've walked, the number of batters they've struck out, in with a ratio of the number of players they've walked. So if a guy comes up or let's say that you got a sample size of 20 innings, guy struck out 22 hitters and he's only walked 4. That to me looks pretty good. But say for whatever reason his ERA is over 5. Let's say he had some bad luck, give us some home runs or whatever. The fact that he's striking over a guy an inning and he's not walking too many, that shows me that his stats are going to come back into play. So it's something in my mind where if I look at someone's stats being out of whack, but then I notice he's striking a lot of guys and not walking a lot of guys, there may be some hidden value there and something a little, let's say, medium or long term. Whereas this pitcher's let's say stat floor is likely, he's at the bottom of it. It's likely going to go up. OPS, so that's on base percentage plus slugging percentage. On base percentage is your batting average and your walks. Your slugging percentage, I can sort of get into it later, but really it's used to determine, this whole stat in itself is used to determine overall effectiveness of a hitter. So it's just taking into how often this guy gets on base and then how often he hits for extra bases. The league average is around 700. Elite players are going to hit around 1,000. WOBA, that's another sort of similar stat, tends to be a little bit more effective at pinpointing, a batter's effectiveness in terms of getting on base, hitting for power and whatnot. Start with something like this, OPS slugging percentage, to sort of get your head around it. And another reason, as I mentioned all the time in podcasts, all the experts, the analysts talk about it as well. So you might want to just have an idea of what it is, have that in your pocket, for when you're listening to the guys that know what's going on. ISO, isolated power. So all that is your slugging percentage, which we just mentioned, minus your batting average. So that takes into consideration, sort of your extra base hits compared to your at bats. Someone that's excellent will have something in the name, an ISO of around 250. Average would be around 140, and poor would be 100. Again, more of this information is available at fangraphs.com. You can look through them all. You can find the advanced stats as well. But just something to keep in mind when you're listening to the other experts talk back and forth, and sort of get an idea of what they're actually talking about. So again, you take a look at Fangraphs, take a look at my website, all the notes from this video, ability to access all our other videos and our blogs is there as well. And you can also reach me out at Twitter. All that's at the links at the bottom of the screen. Happy drafting. Good luck this year.